Previously on
Radio as we head on towards 6 o'clock, and in his usual slot on a Monday is, I'm sure, very vocal Mr. David Campese. He's always vocal, but some particularly spicy rugby to get his teeth stuck into this Monday. Hi, David. Can you hear me clearly? Is everything good with the connection?
All right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Here with Johnny and Kate. You heard the story about Darren?
Yeah, it's a bit silly. Why would he want to change his name to Fly? I mean, why doesn't he just get a real life and think he's a normal person?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think a DJ, his real name would sound as cool being a DJ.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Tell him this is year 2012.
Yeah, I know.
He didn't
No,
change
but he
his name
started
to
DJing
Fly.
in about 1980, so that's probably why he did it.
There's your problem.
Yeah, right there. Campo, good to chat to you. Let's start with the Springbok game. We've had Dan Retief on this afternoon. We spoke to Peter de Villiers, both offering their perspectives on the match, and I'm very interested to give you an open platform and just go your thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think what really happened was what a lot of people expected. The All Blacks realistically didn't play great rugby either. They just sort of, I thought, after playing Australia, Argentina, and then playing the box, you could just see that they were going through the motions. They let Lowe at the breakdown dominate. He did a great job. And obviously what all these teams do, they actually watch the videos from weeks before. And if you have a look at Australia, South Africa last week, South Africa really struggled in defence, and that's why the All Blacks tried to run wide every opportunity. But unfortunately, for the All Blacks, the Springboks actually stood up to the counter. They did a great job in defence. But unfortunately, again, they get the ball and they kick it away too much. Obviously, it was, everyone was saying, well, when's he going to bring this young guy on? And when he came on, he performed. So I think now the coach is starting to realise what international rugby's are like, what it's about. You know, it's great to come in and say, right, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to play. But unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't happen. When you're playing, you're playing the two of the best teams in the world, Between the four teams, they've won 6 World Cups, so they're not a dud side. You're going to turn up and sort of make a few mistakes and going to win. Staying missing 5 shots is not really acceptable. But again, if you have a look at his record over the years, he's performed week in, week out, and a lot of people want him to go. And I think by the coach realising on Saturday, look, 5's enough, bring the young guy on, and things started to change around. But what you need now, I think you need a couple of centres to sort of run off the number 10, because you've got Lambie there as well. You've got some really good players, but really hasn't found the right combination. And I think the Box will realise now that it was a great opportunity they're thrown away. But again, I think also if you look at the prop who came on, I don't know why he changed the beast.
Yeah.
Things on the prop, 4 penalties, yellow card, and loses a try. That really sums up his beautiful 20, 30 minutes of rugby.
I tweeted after the game that I thought the Box perhaps should have won that one. Copped a bit of flack on Twitter saying, no, the All Blacks were the better side. Do you think the Box should have taken that?
No, look, in hindsight, if you look at it, if they kicked the goals, yes, they would have won. But again, the All Blacks are the sort of side that, they scored some great tries. They throw the ball around. They try things where the Box really, what they do is to just try to get the ball, kick it, and hopefully make a mistake. Brian Abana, a great try. It was a fantastic try and caught everyone's want in there when he scored. But again, there was no sort of follow-up after that. That last kick a goal, when the All Blacks hit the post, you let the ball bounce. Now, at schoolboys, you're told, don't let the ball bounce. And if you look at all the players are looking around, no one's watching the post. And that's just really simple things, and that's where if you go back over the game over the last couple of weeks, the things that let the Box down are the simple things, the basic things. And if you get that right, and you bring in some players, and you get a bit of confidence, you haven't got a bad side. But again, Hanneke Meyer's got to understand that blue ball rugby is starting to die. If you look at the blue balls at the Curry Cup at the moment, they're gone, they're shot. So hopefully in South African rugby, the blue balls are going to fail, which will be good, because now you've got to have to play a different style of rugby to compete. And the Blue Bulls realise we haven't got the Victors, we haven't got the Buckies, we haven't got the guys who did well by the game plan. They've got to change. And I think that's good for South African rugby.
if you're looking for positives, I suppose from a Bok perspective, the guys did bring a lot of physicality to the contact situations, and they certainly had more than enough field possession to put up and to put on a better showing.
Yeah, they did. I mean, that's the way they play, and it's interesting because when I played against the Boks, they're a very physical side, but normally in Australia we had better skills. That's how we look at the game. And then you get South Africa, New Zealand, and it's just a bash fest. They want to show who is the strongest. That's how they play the game. That's why the games are very, very physical. And then you've got Australia, New Zealand. It's a totally different game as well. So you've got to use your strengths. South Africa, again, they've got to be a bit smarter. There's opportunities out wide which they don't really follow through. Again, that's just the way they play. Once the players get more confident around each other, and they've got the skills, I think, I've been saying week in, week out, I write articles in Australia, I sound like a broken record, but you've got to go back to schoolboy rugby now and give the players the skills to adapt to anything. You can't play this barge rugby again. It's not working. So you've got to get the skills. And if you look at the back line for the Boks, Hewson, who's a great number 10, you've got Lambie around, you've got Francis Steyn, he's got to learn now. He's a big guy. He's got to learn to offload in the tackles like a Sonny Bill. He's not going to run over guys all the time. To use their strengths, which they haven't really brought out yet. And then you've got De Villiers and John in the centres, who you very rarely see him. If you look at that first try in the first couple of minutes, they should have scored. Just really bad passing, no communicating. And that's the problem. When you're not used to that rugby, it doesn't come easy. It's hard.
And that's something that Dan Retief said. He said the guys are so used to putting ball to boot and kicking it away that when they actually do go wide, they don't actually know what to do.
Well, that's obvious, wasn't it? The first minute of the game, you could have scored. And what happens? And the thing is, you look around, players like Brian dropped the ball, he's looking around. Guys, what's the story here? That should be easy. That is schoolboy rugby stuff. Get the ball, put the ball in front, and run on to support. I mean, that's very, very simple. But again, because the game has changed, and now it's a physical bash, they've all got tight jerseys, they run into each other, they try and barge each other over. And the referees, 50-50. Every ruck is a 50-50 call. So use the ball. Use the ball into space. Don't stand there and pass the ball backwards. You've got to engage the opposition to stop the opposition and put the ball into space. You've got to let the ball do the work. And unfortunately, at the moment, the Boks aren't letting the ball do the work.
I'd just like your thoughts. I know we spoke last week, and everyone's been talking about it extensively. The kicking game, and Heineke Meyer going into this test saying that he is going to play the game that he knows, which is the kicks. At parts, though, it did seem to work. All backs were pinged on numerous occasions due to mistakes made under the high ball.
Yeah, look, you've got to understand. Like he's been given the job. I can say what I like because I'm not the coach. Yeah. You're the same. Every South African supporter thinks they know best. Unfortunately, we're not in Heineke Meyer's position. He's been given 4 years. He's got to turn up and he's got to do what he thinks is best. Look, by these games, he's going to realise that the game is changing, and he knows that. Now he's picked Lowe. He realised he needs a fetcher, and Lowe last week did a great job. He slowed the ball down and won 3 or 4 turnovers. That's what you need. So that's what the coach has got to understand. He hasn't coached international rugby before. Nick Mallett said on Saturday, he knows Heineke very well. And the thing is, why can't they help each other? Because you're all there to help the Boks. There's no egos involved. You're there to win. The more you win, the better it gets. And unfortunately, Heineke, as we said last week, the third game against England in Port Elizabeth, he should have thrown the young guys in, told everyone in South Africa, we've won the series, I want to see where we're heading in the future, put all the young guys in and see how they ship up to a very good side. He lost that opportunity because he wanted to win, because of the pressure. Now, even on Saturday after the game, he realised he needed to change things, and he has. So hopefully now he's got the young guys. What he needs now is combinations, confidence and commitment. And once he's got that, you'll find that hopefully the players will get together. They've got 2 tests coming up. One against Australia, then the All Blacks. So there's some big games coming up. They've got a good chance of beating Australia. Australia's playing very poor, but the All Blacks again are the ones. That's where you judge yourself. You judge yourself when you play the best. It's no good judging when you're playing the guy 10th team. You've got to beat the best. You've got to play, and that's where you've got to judge. And that's where I think Hanika Meyer will be judged.
We'll get your thoughts on the Wallabies in a minute. I just want to ask you regarding Ibn Etzebeth. He'll be good to go. Flip van der Merwe didn't have a bad game. Does Hanika Meyer retain and keep Flip on, or does he bring back Etzebeth?
Well, it depends on the game you want to play. I mean, if you're going to play the Wallabies, I mean, again, you should have beat them in Perth. And, it was a bit stupid of him to try and headbutt Nathan Sharp. I mean, Sharp's been around a long time, and you can see it was like, come on, mate, come on, you youngster, let's see what you got. And he reacted. And I think that the scrum on Saturday did pretty well for the Box. Again, you got some really good players. You either start one, you want to win all the ball, or later on put the pressure on. So, again, we can say what we like. The coach has got an idea. The scrum performed very well. The back row did extremely well together. And I think that the more you change, the more upsetting you are. Keep the same side continuously for weeks. The Blacks very rarely change their side. They change one or two players, but again, that's what you've got to do. I think Hanek is learning, and in the country like rugby-related country like South Africa, religion, he's going to learn a lot quicker.
Yeah, I know, you're right. And I'm very quickly, last thing on the Box, Heinrich Brousseau, now that the games are being played at home, do you think he should be given a chance?
Well, again, depends on the coach. I think he brought Low back, realising, this is what we need. Again, I think that the guys will be watching the videos, realising, okay, we've got to get this guy out of the game. And if you have him and Brousseau on the other side, I mean, what a great combination. You've got the line-out jumpers. I think you've still got a bit of a problem at hooker. Strauss is not a bad player, but again, once he got the ball out wide, he had two guys on the outside and he just took the tackle. You've got to put the ball in the space, You've got to get these guys out of the back line, let the backs have a bit of room to move without forwards in there. It's, again, obviously you miss Bismarck Duplessis, you got injuries, but the Wallabies have got 26 injuries as well, so you can blame whatever you like on injuries. The players have got to turn up. So, again, Brousseau would be great because then you can start to see, he's got to say, right, this is what we're going to do against the Wallabies. We're going to have two open flankers and we're going to try and compete and win as much ball and slow the ball down and then see how you go.
The Wallabies, I saw you voicing your disgust on Twitter, and I see you rubbing your neck in your head there. It was sheer frustration, but I saw you voicing your disgust at the Wallaby game plan. But Robbie Dean survives another week.
Well, I still don't know what the game plan is. Does anyone know? Because, it's very frustrating. And especially for ex-players, because you sit there and you go, what are they trying to achieve? Firstly, what are they trying to achieve? You've got Craig Cooper there, who's a very good talent, but the other guys as I said, you've got Pat McKay doesn't pass the ball. And I don't know if you watched the game, there was one time he ran the ball, he was running from left to right, he couldn't actually pass, he had to turn the other way to pass the ball. He's an international rugby player and he cannot pass from left to right. That is disgusting. Sorry. I mean, but the thing is, Robbie Deans loves him because he hits the ball up hard, he's a very physical. Australian rugby's not that. Australian rugby is skills in the back row, in the back line, moving the ball in the space, putting the ball, bringing the fullback in, creating opportunities. But we can't do that because we haven't got the players. Again, what is our game plan? We haven't got one. And can you imagine on Saturday, 26,000 capacity stadium, it wasn't even full. And I believe the TV coverage was poor because nobody wanted to watch. It's in dire straits. You cannot get people. You've got to entertain people. If you don't entertain people, people don't come. You're not getting the money, and the TV rights aren't great. There's definitely a problem. They've got to wake up to themselves and realise Robbie Deans is not the coach we need for the Wallabies. We need somebody that understands the way Australians play, give them the skills, get them to understand each other, play as a team, pass and support. No one passes the support. They just pass and watch. They'll be running crossfield too much. That is not the way we play.
I saw Dean saying that he was considering at one point moving Barnes or Beale to fly half at one point, but all I could help thinking was nice to know that Morna isn't the only guy struggling.
Yeah, but I mean, that's an excuse as well because he picked the guy there. When you've got a player, you need people around him to give him options. They're all waiting. See, what's happened is, I don't know if you watched the game years and years, but when we played the game, if you've got the ball, if I wander off you, I've got to call and give you an option. Well, what's happening now is you've got the ball, everyone's waiting for you to do the work for me. And that's why no one's given the flair the option. When you've got a flair player, you've got to give him options. Give him, inside, outside, short ball, long ball. Give us a loop, give us a switch. The more you can do that to a flair player, the better the flair player is and the more dangerous he is. But at the moment, Paul Cooper's doing everything and they're all waiting. He put Sharp through a gap, he put McKay through a gap, but then there was nothing else. You've got to give inside, outside. The more options you've got, the more pressure you put on the opposition. And the Boks are the same. They're not attacking the line, and that's why it's easy to defend, because no one's actually threatening the opposition. And that's where the Wallabies struggled. The stadium was called Skilled Stadium, and there was definitely no skills from the Wallabies. You've got Jimenez made a great counter-attack run, and they scored a try, even though the guy put his foot in the touch.
Yeah.
But still, that's great counter-attack, and you can see Wallabies, there's disarray. There's disarray in defence. Again, we need Deans to go. They've got to get rid of him, but O'Neill won't get rid of him because we've told him 3 years to get rid of him, and he won't because it'll make him look bad, and all he's worried about is his ego self.
Who would you like to see replace Deans were he to go?
I don't care. You can replace him. I don't really give two hoots to replace him. No, I think we've got Hugh McKenzie. Hugh McKenzie's been there. He's demonstrated what a great coach he is. You just need somebody to give the players confidence and realise if they make a mistake, don't worry about it. Get on with it and play the game. But to play as a team. They're not playing as a team. Get some players in there that can create and pass the ball. Big Ione doesn't get the ball. The guys can't pass. What's the use having finishers if they're not getting the ball?
Okay, well, we've almost got to wrap it up, Campo. It's heading up to 5:30, but I'd just like to just get back to the Boks quickly. And I asked Div this, and I asked Dan Retief this, but going forward now, we've got our home games coming up, pretty much dead rubbers. What do you do as coach, knowing that the All Blacks essentially have it wrapped up?
Well, yeah, you've got to experiment. Experiment with, I know it's hard, is it Houston? Number 10.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. That's hard.
It's hard for an Australian to say, but he's a very good player. I think what you do is you put Hogard back to 9.
Yeah.
You got the 10. Now, this is what I'd like to see. I'd like to put Lambie at 12. And I'd like to put Stain at 13 because, unfortunately, John's the captain of the Springboks, but he's not actually bringing anything to the table. Even when there's a problem in the game, you don't see the players getting around every time the All Blacks have a problem, you see Richie McCall call the team in and get them together and say, right, this is what we've got to do. They all work together. But the Boks on Saturday, they were just disarray. When they needed someone to talk to, there was no one there. You've got to need a back line to play the game. And unfortunately, you put John on the wing. I don't know. You put him somewhere, but you've got to have a back line that goes to the future. Who's going to be in the next World Cup? You pick that back line now. You've got some great opportunity, but they've got to work together. Even if you put John back to 12, I don't know, and France on the outside, because France struggles to pass the ball. He's a big guy. He's got to learn to offload in the tackle, like Sonny Bill. He's a big guy. Start moving the players around until you find the right combination, and don't kick the ball. When I go coaching kids, I always say the game is about the ball. If you haven't got it, you cannot win. So don't kick it away.
Well, Box Shark Miles Floor agrees with you. He says Jean de Villiers and France Steyn should swap positions during play. He thinks Jean de Villiers is a better distributor.
He is a better distributor, but the thing is he needs someone who he can trust. You know what I mean? He needs somebody on the outside that when he goes through a tackle, he knows he's going to come close. And that's just combinations. Again, you've got to get these guys, the more they play together, the easier it is. But they've played a couple of tests now. John de Villiers very rarely gets the ball. France Steyn made a really good run on Saturday, bumps off two guys, but he had to pass the ball on the inside, not the outside. If it was on the inside, there was more opportunities. Again, you've got to learn to play as a team. And it really frustrates me because that's what rugby is, a team sport. The All Blacks play together. And you can see they'll die for each other. That's the difference between them. That's why they're the world's best and the other so-calls at the moment, because they're not playing as a team. They're playing as individuals.
All right. Johnny, do you have a question for Dave?
Yeah. Alan Roland, how do you think we'll be able to handle him? We've chatted quite a bit about the refereeing, but Alan Roland, your thoughts on him?
I think the thing is you've got Lowe, who's obviously playing Europe. European referees allow you to compete at the breakdown. And I think that's what you need to do. You've got to understand the referee. Play to the referee. and get away with it, whatever you can get away with, but be smart. You know the Wallabies, how they play the game. You know the way they are. They're very dangerous, so play the way you do. If you're going to do a box kick, do it where you can get the ball back. And you've got to get Hogarth back at 9. You know, when I was at the Sharks, Ruben Pino was a player. But unfortunately, there's no combination there with him and 10 and number 8. There's no, you know what I mean? You need a combination of that. And you keep on swapping and changing, it's going to be hard. But Hogarth's a flair player. He's wasted on the wing. You know, I mean, he's a great number 9. Play him there. Keep the opposition guessing. Then you've got 9 danger, 10 danger, 12 danger. You need a number 8 to keep the opposition guessing. You've got 4 players like that. You've got room out wide to move the ball.
We spoke about it in blogs. I mean, you alluded to it there, playing Hogarth at 9, but we spoke about it in blogs last week. Some are bloggers feeling that you're actually doing more damage to a player by playing him out of position, rather leave him out the team if you can't play him in the position that you initially picked him for.
Well, look at Ruan Pina. He was been playing number 10, and he was one of the best number 9s run around, but they couldn't play him 9 because the Bulls number 9 was around for many, many years. So you wasted talent. In South Africa, you've got so many good players, but what you do is you try and put them on the pitch in the wrong position. Pick the best team and pick the players in their right position. Then you've got combinations and confidence. At the moment, that's not working.
All right, Campo, we've got to wrap it up. I would ask you your Currie Cup predictions. I've got them here. Actually, let's go through them quickly. Can you give us some Currie Cup predictions for next week?
Yep. Go for it.
All right. Western Province against Griquas.
Griquas. They're going really well, aren't they? They're playing some great rugby.
They're playing some good rugby. Just quickly, you talk about ill discipline in the Bok camp. How do you feel with your Alistair Coetzee?
Look, I tell you, it's that's what I mean. It's these players, you know, it's week in, week out rugby. They've got to, you know, I don't know. I think I must be asking too much because the way I played the game and my discipline, you know, to me, professionalism is not the manager attitude. If you're playing for a team week in, week out, you give your best performance. You don't give silly penalties away. Simple. You cannot do that. That lets the team down. But the thing is, it's really scary when someone does that. And we saw in the Test match, the prop who elbowed Richard McCaw. He gets up and nothing's wrong. Yeah. Then he gets yellow card. I'd be really peed off that I've let my team down. You know, but they just get on with it. Oh, you know, made a mistake. They've got to show some remorse. When they made a mistake, yeah, you've got to show some emotion and say, "Geez, why did I do that? That was really stupid," you know?
Blue Bulls Cheetahs in Pretoria.
Go Cheetahs, the Blue Bulls. We want them to lose so they can understand we've got to start changing the game in South Africa.
Excuse you.
The Lions against your boys.
Oh, I tell you, the Lions are playing pretty good. They're you know, the Sharks in the wet. It's going to rain again on Saturday. Is it down in Durban or up in?
No, it's in Johannesburg.
Durban? Oh, well, okay. The Lions. I think it's going to be the Lions and Sharks. I mean, they're normally two very good sides. Can the Sharks get over the bit of the hoodoo that the Lions have put on in the last sort of, you know, in the Super Rugby and all that sort of stuff? So it'd be very interesting. But I'd say the Sharks by probably 10 points.
Just on that Province Sharks game, didn't it remind you an awful lot of the 95 South Africa-France game down in Durban with all that rain and all the water on the pitch? Yeah,
well, you understand that game was delayed because, you know, if the game wasn't to be played, South Africa lost. That's why they waited and waited and waited to play the game. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
That's why they delayed the game because if the game wasn't to go ahead, there would have been a forfeit. France would have gone through.
Did you know that, Johnny?
No. You learn something every day, Campo.
Come on, guys. Where's your history? Come on.
Johnny wasn't even paying attention, Campo.
No, I was. I promise you I was.
I bet you were, yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Campo, Darren will be back next week, but thanks for indulging us.
No problem. Just tell him if, you know, I can change my name too, but it's not going to really matter. People know who you are. Yep. Just get on with it, Darren.
Yeah, I know. I'll pass it on. Campo, guys. Good chatting.
Bye, Darren.
Bye.
There you go, David Campese in his regular Monday slot. The Flush Out, if you missed it, available as a podcast along with all our other interviews. We've had a ton this afternoon. Well done, Johnny.
No, thank you.
Had a lot of interviews on Balls Visual Radio this afternoon. Let's... 2
p.m. to 6 p.m. Mondays to Fridays live on balls.co.za. Balls.co.za.